Elijah Melendez commits to the Auburn Tigers. The former Miami commitment 4-star linebacker makes it official as far as his commitment goes, and he is now a part of this 2025 class. Welcome on into Locked on Auburn, this special, quick, emergency pod edition. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, joined by the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend. Darrell, we've talked about this guy for months. He'll hit the crap out of you. He doesn't care about your feelings, and he's an awesome addition to this 2025 class.
He is very, very coveted by this staff.
Yeah.
His nickname is Freak. He is one of the most physical high school linebackers I've seen on tape in a long time. I get it that there's some out there that are 5 stars, but this guy was he was pursued heavily by schools like Alabama, Miami, Oklahoma, Ole Miss for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's because he is so physical. His physicality is already on the SEC level, how it was described by one coach. I remember people on your show talking about their only concern they had with him was he going to hurt himself before the season ended because he tackles
so hard,
knock himself out. He is just one of those guys that you see come along at college programs that when you're watching him, it's hard to keep your eyes off of him because he's so physical. You notice him everywhere making very physical tackles, and this is a great pickup for this linebacking class.
Yeah, a Florida kid, which, Florida recruits are just different. They're a very talented group of kiddos. 4-star across the board, except for 247 has him as a 3-star. Rivals has him as the number 4 linebacker in the country, as does ESPN. On3 has him as the 10th highest linebacker in the entire class. You take that. You take that every single day of the week. But the interesting thing about Elijah Melendez to me, Darrell, is when you look at his play, both at him physically and how he plays the game of football, where he'll just lay you out. It reminds you of kind of an old school style linebacker, that Mike that you put in the middle of your defense, your Brian Urlacher type guy. But when you look at his measurables, he's 6'1.5", 6'2", depending on where you look, 220-ish pounds. It's not like he's this big 240 thumper. He's a guy at 220 at the next level. You can move laterally, and you can keep him on the field in passing situations long term. And I think that kind of gets overlooked because when you watch him play, he plays like this 240-pound dude that we used to see, several years ago. Linebackers have gotten smaller to adapt to what offenses do with the spread and using every blade of grass. To me, I think that's kind of an underutilized or under-discussed part of Melendez's game.
It also helps if you ever drop him in coverage, let's say on a tight end. Typically, it's tight ends, it's a mismatch against undersized linebackers or safeties. Melendez is a guy that when he hits you, you stay hit. Yeah. So even if he's given up pounds and inches to a tight end, he's such a physical tackler that's another advantage if you drop him in pass coverage. He's really it's just hard to explain or quantify how physical this guy is until you see it with the eyeball test.
Yeah.
But you're right about that middle linebacker thumper mentality. He has it. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. The way Charlie Five or Kyle Rush describes them on his show, and I think he's done it here, he erases lead blockers, which I think is what you want your linebacker to do. I don't think there's any question. About that. So obviously a huge addition. I do wonder, what the realistic timeline is for Melendez. Auburn is losing a bunch of linebackers after this season, but they added a bunch of linebackers that are true freshmen that aren't going to play a lot this year, but maybe they might over the course of the year with DeMarcus Riddick and DJ Barber. Is Elijah going to have to wait a few years before he really plays? That'll be interesting to see because we won't really know the answer to that until we see what Auburn does in the transfer portal in December.
Great point. We'll see if they keep him at that size because of his lateral movement, or if they do try to put 5-10 pounds on him to make him more of a traditional inside linebacker. That'll be Auburn's call to make when he gets there.
Sure.
I think he plays. He may redshirt depending on the amount of people that you bring in the transfer portal. But
Yeah.
I think he's just one of those guys that's going to be hard to keep off the field. I think he's going to be ready fairly early because of his physicality. And, this is a kid. Remember, I know some people were using the term flip. He decommitted last weekend from Miami, or 2 weekends ago. So we kind of saw the writing on the wall that when he decommitted from Miami, that Auburn got all the crystal balls. I don't know. I think he's ready to play at the SEC level, depending on where if Auburn says, okay, we want to put some weight on you and make you a traditional inside linebacker, then he probably would have to redshirt to get that weight added. But I don't know. He just looks hard to keep off the field.
Yeah.
A guy that can make an impact pretty early on.
Harder than a second-year Barber or Riddick?
No, but I'm talking about not starting, but getting in the 2-deep rotation and playing significant snaps.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it just
depends on, like, do they go get a Dorian Mausi again, or a Gote again? One of these 1-year rentals at linebacker, because they're going to have to add somebody.
Every linebacker
too much.
Yeah, and every linebacker that Auburn has in its 4 deep right now, is a transfer. I mean, Asante came from North Carolina.
Yeah, forever ago. Yeah.
So right. Mausi from Duke, Gote from Maryland, and Keys from Ole Miss. So every linebacker is a transfer portal linebacker right now. I think Hugh Freeze probably wants to get away from that. So does DJ Durkin, and have some homegrown, developed high school kids at linebacker. But yeah, they're going to need to get a couple to plug in for sure for depth.
Yep. Hey, I want to take a quick second to discuss exactly what this means for the 2025 class, as well as just some of the things that we've also heard about Elijah Melendez. So that's coming up in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by America's #1 sportsbook. Darrell, can you imagine? Nice shirt. Can you imagine wagering anywhere other than our friends at FanDuel?
No, that's why this segue is perfect. It's right there. I cannot imagine that.
I can't
absolutely.
either.
With some of the free money, some of the promotions they give you, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, we've been talking about this one for a few weeks. Right now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you can watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. That's insane. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Darrell, we both love 5 Hour Energy. Kyle's kind of sold me on the grape flavor 5 Hour Energy shot. I probably need to take one later today just because it's a late kickoff. But when you look at 5 Hour Energy, I mean, there's so many advantages. So many advantages.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Flavors are good, taste good, gives you that little kick with the amount that you need. A lot of times, we talk about hitting that late afternoon wall, right? During the work week, big time help there.
No question. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, it's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use our code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Go check it out, 5hourenergy.com today. We always commend this coaching staff for the job that they do as far as whenever it looks bleak in a recruitment, they don't back off. Melendez was expected to be a part of this class a while ago, and then things kind of went silent. Sounds like he reaffirmed his commitment to Miami because that's where he was committed at the time. But DJ Durkin loves this guy, loves him, and they just didn't back off. This is another example. And it almost seems like we could go down the list of everybody that's part of this 2025 class and say, yeah, it looked like we weren't going to get him, but then the staff didn't back off, and now he's part of the class. It's just one after another. And Elijah Melendez is the latest to do that.
Yeah, we heard his name early as somebody that Auburn had targeted and really, really wanted. And I think even when he committed to Miami, there was this feeling that we're not giving up. We still have a good shot to get him in this class. And we feel like he'll end up in this class, and that's credit to this staff. That shows you the perseverance and how they've pursued him. Shows you what the value is to this coaching staff for Melendez and what type of linebacker he is. They just did not want to concede him, and that speaks volumes. Again, I can't wait for people to actually, if they have the opportunity, to go back and watch film on him or see, just because it's one of those deals where it's just an eyeball test. It's hard to describe until you view it with your own eyes.
Yeah, it just looks so clean. And one of the things I meant to say this earlier, but like when Melendez plays linebacker, all of his actions are done with such intent. There's no hesitation at the hole that he attacks. There's no hesitation for, as soon as the ball is given to a running back or a quarterback is running to the outside. I mean, there's just no wasted steps. Now, what we have access to is highlights. Like, does that burn him from time to time? It probably does. It probably does. That's just the nature of, if you play that way, you probably get, fooled by misdirection or play action from time to time. That's part of it. But still, like, just to have that mentality of whatever I do on the field, it's going to be done with such intent and such intensity and purpose. Give me that every single day. Give it to me every single day.
He is one of those guys that really has a natural knack for like blowing plays up in the backfield.
Sure.
When you bring him, good read reaction on backs in the backfield, getting pitches, and like you said, when he eliminates the blockers, lead blockers, right, he's in the backfield blowing up plays, and that's a real nice luxury to have at that position. And it's why he was so. Again, I know people want to talk about the stars and the rankings and all that, and he is a consensus 4-star. But we and you have talked about offer lists. And when Alabama pursues you heavily in Miami and Oklahoma, Brett Venables, who's a defensive-minded coach, wants this guy bad, and you end up getting him, that's huge. That speaks volumes.
No question. No question about it. So, Elijah Melendez, welcome to the 2025 class. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Darrell Dap on Instagram. I'm with you Wednesday, Fridays, and of course, our Sunday reaction shows. And check out our virtual store that has gear similar to this and some other stuff that I think people will enjoy.
Yep. Be sure to check it out. All in the episode description down below. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.